Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Today we start the next chapter, the chapter on self-analysis. One of the most interesting and also the most useful of what we need to do in the spiritual path. If you miss out on this step, everything else is going to just fall one day like a pack of cards. Because the whole journey is about knowing yourself more and more. So if you haven't done the most, external parts of it, you're never going to get to the internal parts of it. So in the thought flow of the book, we heard up to last time what Vedanta tells us. They classified our personality. They told us, a human being is made up of a body, mind, intellect. A human being is made up of the self. Body, mind, intellect, and the self. A human being has the panchakoshas. It has the 3 states of consciousness. So much information is given to us about what we are. What we have to do is now take that information and understand ourselves better. There's no point everybody telling me what I am. I got to figure this thing out for myself. So having heard what they have told us, now is the time for us to turn introvert and see how is all this information that we got fitting in with the person I am. Because very few people look at themselves and say, I'm a body, mind, intellect, right? So now there is knowledge and there is me, and I have to somehow connect these things. So let's see. Is anybody new in class today? I suppose today is the first chapter, so is the beginning of the chapter, so I guess everything should be okay. If you have any question, if you're new and you have a question, then please stop me and ask. If you're old and you have a question, then you must write it down, as you know, in the chat box and have it taken before the class starts. Nobody but new people can ask questions as and when they like, okay? But new people, don't get frightened. You please ask whatever you want. This is only a little strictness for older people who should be more organized. So here we are, chapter 10, Vedanta Treatise, self-analysis. Okay, so who will read?
Can I read?
I can.
Please do. Go ahead, Madeline.
So, inquiry into yourself. Yourself is pure consciousness. You are the supreme reality. Spiritual pursuit culminates in the self. You discover yourself by turning introvert through inquiry into yourself. You must gradually wade through the body, mind, and intellect, your gross, subtle, causal bodies to reach the divine core of your personality, to gain the bliss of self-realization. But the human tendency is to be more extrovert. Instead of seeking the self within, people pursue the external world of pleasures, joy, and knowledge. They get involved in mundane affairs, and the mind becomes restless and agitated. The intellect loses its clarity to inquire into the essence of life. Shall I summarize?
Yes, please.
So the self is pure consciousness, is supreme reality. The spiritual pursuit, the goal of it is to be in the self, to discover the self. So how do you do that? The method is to gradually turn introvert and to apply self-inquiry. So what you do is you go through the equipments of the body, the mind, and the intellect to finally reach this divine core, which is your personality. But the human tendency, however, is to be extrovert, to be the contrary. Instead of seeking the self within, people pursue pleasures, joys, and knowledge, and they get involved in mundane things. So gradually the intellect loses its clarity to inquire into what is the essence of life.
And intellect loses clarity
And the mind becomes restless and agitated.
yeah, and the mind loses peace. Yes, very good, Madeline. So this is what happened. This is what we are supposed to do, and what we do. What we are supposed to do is find that self within. What we do is get carried away with seeking some pleasures. Pleasures means pleasures for the body. What can I see? What can I eat? What can I touch? What can I smell? What can I hear? I want all these lovely things for myself. You know, from childhood it will start. They want those teddy bears, you know, to cuddle up and sleep. And then we want the duvets so that we feel nice and warm. Nothing wrong in that, of course. But at every stage of life's journey, we want these pleasures of the body. Nothing wrong in wanting the pleasure of the body, but just as a matter of fact, that's what we are seeking. Then we want joys of the mind. We want people to love us. We want to feel part of a group. We want to feel like everybody cares about us. We want people to care. Like, you know, if I say, you know what happened to me the other day? I fell and it hurt me so badly. And suppose the other person says, oh, yawn, then I get very upset, right? Oh no, my God, what happened? And no. I'm sure they care that there's something happened to you, and what can we do? And all you seek to have people care for you, the joys of life, the emotional joys. I have a child, I don't have a child, my child is going to be abroad to study, whatever. So many joys we seek. And then finally, what else do we want? We want knowledge. That's the third type of joy we want. It's the worst of the lot. The worst of the lot in the sense that when you come to that stage, you genuinely think there's nothing else. When you're pursuing the pleasures of the body, you will find people, you know, they talk to you like that. Oh, we are all the sinners. We do all these things. You people are doing higher things. They talk like that also. So in their own hearts, there's a feeling that there is something higher. But when you meet people who are involved in knowledge, they have no such thought at all. They don't think we are sinners, we are doing wrong things. They think this is it. So it's the worst kind of involvement because it's the most difficult to get out of. It's the most difficult to get out of because what are they going to compare to know that this is limited? At least people who are in physical pleasures say, oh, those guys are doing something better. But the knowledge fellows, what are they going to find somebody doing something better? So our tendency is to then get involved. Please don't misunderstand it. It is not that Vedanta is against you sleeping in a nice warm duvet, eating nice rasmalai, or hearing good music. But why would it be against it? You're there, you better enjoy your life. You're not enjoying your life. What on earth are you doing? Being miserable and unhappy unnecessarily and spreading what Ramatirtha says, spreading sorrow. You're miserable, you make everybody else miserable. Now that's not good. Neither should you be miserable, neither should you cause misery to others. You must enjoy, you must have a good time. What's the problem then? The problem is we get so involved in it. We forget, what are we really here to do? What are you really here to do? Oh my God, so I should not enjoy? Says who? Please enjoy. But don't enjoy in such a way that you forget what you're here to do. Whether it is pleasures of the body, or pleasures of the mind, or pleasures of the intellect, please have them. Please enjoy them. But what we do is we have them at the cost of a purpose, a vision, a mission in life. And the consequence of this is that the intellect starts becoming very, very dull. It can't see anything. It can't see the most basic things. And the mind starts becoming very agitated. So we lose our peace, we lose our clarity. This is really very sad because we were born with it. We were born with it. You know, Wordsworth writes of this. What is that beautiful line? Who remembers that line? From intimations of immortality through early childhood. That they're born pure, and then the prison shades close upon the growing boy. But we come not in utter forgetfulness, not in utter nakedness. We come with that knowledge. We come with all their children are happy. All children are very clear. They don't have a problem with clarity. They don't have a problem with purity. They means what? We didn't have it at one point. And then you grow up and all the mess, all the hell breaks loose. Why? We lose that. And why do we lose it? Because we start believing some joys, some petty, stupid joys are incredibly important. We give them a black market value. We start believing that if you don't have this particular thing, I'm dead, I'm finished. I'm neither dead nor finished. There are many people who don't have that thing and they're going on fine. There are many people who have that thing and are dead and finished. So, no correlation. So many, things like even having a child. Most people have children. There are some people who don't have them. Not because they didn't wish to, but because for whatever reason they didn't get a child. And how miserable they are. How they look at the world differently. It's a torture for us to see them. Because anything you say to them in their mind converts to, I don't have a child. So you can't speak to them because you can make the most innocent statement and for them, you will have hurt them because in their mind, this is converting to, I don't have a child. You say, oh, it's nice that you have free time. In their mind, it'll convert to, she's telling me I don't have a child. Everything that you say will convert it to that. What torture? I don't have a child. Very sad. How, try and put yourself in that person's position. How does that person feel? And yet because you have children, that just because somebody has a child doesn't necessarily mean that they are on the top of the world. If you don't have it, you feel, my God, what a loss, what a loss. And if you do have it, you say, oh my God, I have to look after my children. I have to go to US because my daughter had a baby. I have to go there and look after that baby. And you are grumbling and they are grumbling and everybody is grumbling. Who is the one not grumbling? When we get carried away with the choice, we lose our peace, we lose our clarity. Okay, so what should we do? come.
Actually, one question.
Yeah, go ahead, Bharat.
Yeah. So we said the worst kind of indulgence is the pursuit of knowledge. And we also said that the intellect becomes dull. So, I mean, the two seem contrary because the intellect is intact with the pursuit of knowledge.
Very good question, Bharat. No, it's not. What happens to such people is that they become repositories of lots of information and no understanding. You should meet people who love knowledge. They have so much information that they will overwhelm you with that information and they will never in their life be able to make any decision because they don't know what to do with that knowledge. The intellect has been dulled. That's a very interesting concept, Bharat, that very few people who are interested in knowledge have any capacity of decision making, of coherence. Forget decision making, coherence. You see in class also, you see, can you not identify immediately people who've read a lot and come? They will not have even a straight question. Bharat, you're saying, how can you compare X with Y? If you had read a lot and just been totally obsessed with knowledge, you would not have been able to come up with that question. Because you say, this take 10 minutes to say what you want. Because they're so overburdened. The intellect has been so overburdened. Haven't you seen all this? Very rare is a person who is in knowledge and is still simple about things. Very rare. I know somebody who is, oh, bapre, the amount of information that person has. And his life is, I mean, he knows everything but everything, and his life is a complete mess. I don't know if you know people like that. They know so much, but they can't take a decision. He comes, he doesn't live in India. He comes to India every year or maybe 2 years, and then he comes saying, every time I meet him, same thing. My brother and I often laugh about this. He said, this time I'm going to get the house done properly. It's all been a big mess, which is, I have to get it all sorted. And then he'll come here, he will learn some more things, he'll go back, the house will continue in the same condition. And this is going on for years. Now, never is that house getting any better, but every time he comes like, oh, I must do this, but I can't do this because of this, and I can't do this because of this, and I can't do this because of this, and life continues just the same. I don't know if you know people like that. It's quite funny, actually, how much information and no capacity to decide. Can't do it. Intellect is dulled. How much information, no capacity to ask a simple question. Simple question also they cannot ask. Have you not seen, Bharat, how many times, I'm sure the whole class has experienced this, how many times people have come into this class very well read in Vedanta. So the most frightening thing in Vedanta, in our subject, is people who come here having read a lot. Then we have to all hold our heads and say, oh my God, a lot of work with this person. Okay, are you okay, Bharat?
Thank you.
Reshma?
Yeah, Janki, just a follow-up to this question. So is it that pursuit of that knowledge is leading to non-coherence and lack of decision making?
What is leading to?
In the bid to collect more and more information, is that what is making the person lack the capacity to arrive at a decision?
No, it is because they love information so much, they don't pause to digest it. So they don't understand how that piece of information fits in the overall scheme of things. The knowledge is a bit like a jigsaw. You have to fit it, you have to slot it in its position. You take it out of its position, then that knowledge is actually detrimental.
So could it be only enhancing that person's already inherent quality of not being able to make a decision?
Maybe or may not be. Both are fine. But the purpose you go to knowledge is to improve your decision making, improve your actions, give yourself direction. That's what the purpose of knowledge is, right? What are you going to do with knowledge? What are you going to collect it and do? So whether or not you had the bad qualities to begin with, the knowledge was supposed to deal with them. But it never did, because you never let it. It's like saying that a person was in malnutrition and therefore you gave food and that food was not digested. But the job of the food was to give that person nutrition, right? But if you take too much of it or you don't take it correctly, it won't give you the nutrition. So you can't say it's just a continuance of the malnutrition. Or the person may not be in malnutrition to begin with, but in either case, he should have had nutrition after eating the food.
Okay, got it.
All right, so who will read the next paragraph? Deep Raj, yeah, go ahead.
The divine law of life is that you shall be full, free from mental agitation and suffering. Your true self is ever peaceful and blissful. But when you stay away from the self and run after the world, you'll be inflicted with pain and suffering. Sow the wind, you reap the whirlwind. The law is unrelenting. Therefore, try to diagnose the cause of agitation.
Just summarize so much, Deep Raj.
So, the law of life is that you shall be pure. So, but people try to run away from the self, and when they run away from the self, it causes them suffering because the mind is agitated.
Yeah. So divine law is you shall be pure. What is pure? That you will be a calm, unagitated person. That is your right as a human being. To be happy, to be peaceful, to be blissful. This is your birthright. And if you don't have it, something is terribly wrong. Terribly, terribly wrong. So why don't we have it? Because we lose it running after silly. Okay, so then what? The problem is that if you run after the world, you will get pain and sorrow. And it's a law. Don't tell me anything. I'm not making this up. To the extent you will run after the world, to the extent you believe something in the world is so, so important, to that extent, that thing will be the cause of your sorrow and suffering. This is a law. He says, reap, sow the wind, you'll reap the whirlwind. You won't know what hit you. You won't know, why am I suffering? You will ask yourself stupid questions like, am I not right? Should my husband not be looking after me? Can anybody tolerate the passing away of a child? I was so good at my business, but I'm still meeting financial failure. You'll ask yourself these questions. You don't understand. You don't understand at all. What you're saying is true and totally wrong. Yes, it's wonderful if all the people who loved us would love us back. Yes, it's wonderful if we could do all the work and we get the results for it. It's wonderful. But the thing is, the more you have craved these things, the more you have wanted these things, the fact is they will be a cause of your sorrow. And then, suppose a boy is rejected by some girls in some college or something. He promises, I never deal with girls. They're all horrible people. And I hate all women, all womankind I hate. All mankind I hate because they're so horrible. They break your heart. No, they are not. They are normal human beings like you and I. What breaks my heart is not people, is not objects, is not situations, but the fact that I am giving them a black market value. I am giving them more importance than I give to the self. That's the truth. Take it or leave it. You say, see, oh, that person, his wife didn't trouble him, or that person, that her husband is so nice, my husband, horrible thing, one of the worst things is when these husbands go around having affairs and all. Wife's heart is broken. She's so miserable. It hurts her so much. And then all her friends and everybody will tell her, yes, he's wrong. He shouldn't do something like that. And how does that help her? Because her pain is her pain, right? Can you go to this person and say, you gave your husband black market value and therefore will you suffer? You think you're heartless if you say that to her. So please don't say that to others. But when our pain makes us cry, let us at least remember, I gave something more important than it was due. I gave the non-real the importance that the real has to be given. How can I not suffer? If I give a bubble more importance than I give the ocean, then the bubble by its nature has to break, by its own nature. It may stay a little longer, it may look a little prettier, but the bubble has to burst. What else will a bubble do? But the ocean stays forever. How can I call the bubbles more important than the ocean? How can I do that? And if I do that, and I believe them to be so important, when they burst, my heart will burst. I have caused myself this pain, nobody else. I have caused myself this pain, nobody else. And I should be punished for causing myself so much pain. How did I trouble my mind so much? The mind which was given to me to be able to inspire me to higher things in life. I have trampled it in pain. The intellect which I have to give me the clarity to understand the facts of life, I have drowned it in my cravings and my wantings. What am I doing? Why is the self-torture going on? How dare I? How dare I trouble myself? Why am I not grateful for this equipment that I have? Why don't I take care of them? Whose responsibility is it? It's mine and mine alone. And yet I want to give the strings of my life into other people's hands, into the hands of objects, beings, circumstances, situations, and then cry. This is sheer madhouse. Sheer madhouse. So the divine law is that you shalt be pure. You move away from that. Expect trouble. You shall be pure means what? What is pure? You're happy, you're not agitated, you're comfortable with life. You're friends with life. Life is not an enemy for you, it's a friend. The divine law is that you shall be pure. That you're peaceful, unagitated. So if you find yourself agitated, what do? Hunt down the cause. Hunt it down relentlessly. Like Sherlock Holmes, hunt it down. Don't be satisfied with superficial reasoning. Hunt down the cause in such a way that never again will I be this agitated. The promise I make to myself. No, I will not be in this position anymore. You cannot come in and just wreck my life. You just simply can't. So that's what he's saying. If you find yourself agitated, try to diagnose. Who will read the next?
Janki ji, sorry, one more question.
Go ahead,
So,
Bharat.
what are the signs that one is giving the right value to things? Is it the peace and the effort that one is putting into things? Because peace could be derived from lack of effort also.
What are the signs that you're giving things the right value is that you do not move from your goal. Suppose your goal is whatever X. Everything becomes subservient to that goal. The moment something becomes more important than the goal, you're giving it black market value. I don't know how to increase the volume at my end, Shivani. You can't hear? What am I supposed to do?
The volume is fine, Janki-ji. Anyone can use the headphones. It's more helpful.
Oh, okay. So giving it extraordinary value, the first and easiest way to know that you have given it extraordinary value is when something causes you immense pain. However, that's a terrible way to know it, because this is after the pain is caused. As a philosopher, you want to know things before they happen, not after they happen. So the easiest way is, okay, I'm in terrible pain because of this. So clearly I've given it a black market value. It's the worst way and the easiest way. Easier way is, when I say easier, of course, I mean more effort, but less pain, is you have for yourself a good understanding of what you want your life to be directed to. What is that thing you want to direct your life to? And once you know that, then everything becomes subservient to that. Means everything that you do becomes a means to that. There's nothing apart from that. So let us say, for argument's sake, that your goal is self-realization. So every single act that you perform is for that. For instance, you take very good care of your parents. So why are you taking such good care of your parents? Because you know that is, you do that for realization. Imagine saying, I want to realize, but I can't even take care of my parents. That makes sense, right? So why am I doing this? Because if I have to do all that I need to do for realization, then taking care of my parents is part of it. Now, when will I start giving it black market value? When I think it is more important than self-realization. So everything I do for that purpose, and I know that everything is subservient to that
Ji, thank you.
Who's reading the next para? Nobody's volunteering to read.
I can.
Go ahead, Madeline.
So, therefore, try to diagnose the cause of agitation and grief. Get to the root of your problems. Go deeper into the inner layers of your personality. You may want to consult the scripture, take guidance from a preceptor. With all that, you must get onto your own reflection and contemplation. You will then find out there is but one fundamental source for all sorrow, one cause for evil and misery in the world. That is the ignorance of the self. People everywhere have lost the identity of the self. Instead, they have identified themselves with the body, mind, and intellect, become attached to material equipments and their endless demands, and run after the world to appease them, not realizing that the physical, emotional, and intellectual appetites are insatiable. The unfulfilled desires remain to produce mental agitation and sorrow. Hence, must you leave your infatuation with the body, mind, and intellect. Realize You are the kernel, not the shell. Turn introvert and gain the knowledge of the self. You then liberate yourself from all agitation and attain enduring peace and bliss. So, therefore, you have to diagnose the root. You have to go to the root and the cause of what is agitating you and making you suffer. So how do you do that? You go into the inner layers of your personality. So you may want to read scriptures or take guidance, but after all of this, what remains is that you have to do the work, and you have to go deep into understanding that the fundamental source of all sorrow and misery is that you ignore the self and you identify constantly with your body, mind, and intellect, and you become attached to material equipments. And this agitation requires you from having endless demands, and you don't realize that the physical, emotional, and intellectual appetites are immense. And this unfulfillment of these desires create agitation and sorrow. So therefore, you must go to what is the core and not the shell, and turn introvert and gain knowledge of the self. So it's the ignorance of the self that creates this agitation. And there you are.
Okay, thank you. Why is it consult the scripture? It's a collective noun, Omkar. The scripture, when you read of it in Western literature, means the Bible. So the scripture is now, let's say, Catholicized to mean the scripture, means your scripture, whatever it is your scripture, read it. So it's a collective noun in this case. What we need to understand in this world is that knowledge of the self and desires are inversely proportional. Means the more the knowledge of the self, the fewer the desires, the less the knowledge of the self, the greater the desires. So it's like, as the knowledge of the self increases, suppose you're here, okay, this is knowledge of the self, this is desires. As the knowledge of the self increases, desires come down. As the knowledge of the self decreases, desires go up. So it's a seesaw going on over here, right? So as long as you have a desire, what happens is you are almost impelled, almost without your will, to go and do those things. Now, suppose you studied in class that you should not get enamored with all these things, with a spouse, with money, whatever. Don't get enamored with it, glamour. Don't get enamored by it. You can have everything, but don't get so enamored by it that you lost your personality to it. So you heard that. But when you actually face those things, you're lost. Before you know what happened, you've gone down that street. I suppose you're meeting your favorite actor. Momita, who's your favorite film star?
Kangana Ranaut.
No? Who?
Kangana Ranaut.
Kangana Ranaut. Okay, so Kangana Ranaut is your favorite. Madeline, who's your favorite?
Let me see. Marlene Dietrich.
Okay. Now, suppose I tell both of you that, it's okay. These are very nice actresses. But when you meet them, of course, Marlene is not there, I think, anymore. But if you do meet them, then don't get carried away, okay? Just meet them normally. I've told you that. But what will actually happen when you meet them? When Usha meets Nakul, what will actually happen? You can't, right? because you're already enamored. So when you go in front of them, you know that somebody told you that, oh, don't get carried away. But when you're actually in front of them, gone before you know what happened. You cannot even construct one simple sentence in front of them. Simple, how are you? You can't say. Nobody ever asks a star, no, how are you? They will faint if you ask such a question. How are you? So, it's one thing to know this information, okay, that I should not get enamored, I should not get carried away. Now, suppose Deepraj goes to college and there is some young pretty girl there, and we tell him, don't get enamored, go speak to her, but don't get enamored. What will actually happen when he goes to speak to her? He will start telling her only, I am not enamored. But who is asking you to give an explanation of whether you're enamored or not? So why do we do that? Why are we not able to execute the knowledge that we have? Why not?
Knowledge
Because
has
we are-
not been digested.
Correct.
Desire is stronger.
Sorry?
Because our desires shout our intellect.
Our desire is so strong. Before you know what happened, you have gone, finished. The story is over. Can't stop yourself. So you tell somebody, you tell this lady who's having a terrible time with her husband because he's interested in some other lady, that, okay, when you meet him, you don't react. Do you think she will not react? Of course she'll react. That pain will push her into it. So what is this? So yesterday somebody was trying to tell me that, oh, we must help people grow. Really? We must help people grow? Who are we to help anybody grow? Either they grow or they don't grow. There's nothing we can do about it. Where did we start getting involved in other people's growth? Let us grow ourselves. Forget about other people. So why that desire is so powerful? Now the question is, why is that desire so powerful? The desire is powerful to the extent that I lack the knowledge of the self. A wise person does not have such a powerful desire in that area. Means to the extent we have wisdom. Like suppose Madeline or Momita or Deepraj, maybe they don't have a very strong desire for, I don't know, for money. I'm just making up stories, okay? I have nothing to do with any individual. I'm just making up all these stories. They don't have a desire, let us say, such a strong desire for money. Then when they meet a very moneyed person, they talk normally. They don't get carried away. They don't get enamored. They're like, okay, normal stuff is going on. So wherever the wisdom prevails, normal life continues. Wherever the wisdom does not prevail, all starts. All the jumping and the dancing and the being a popcorn on a hot tawa, all that will start. So instead of trying to individually hold on to things and say, oh, I should not get enamored, oh, I should, restrict my, giving black market value and all, what should we do? What should we do?
Increase knowledge of the self.
Get knowledge.
Increase knowledge of the self. Very good. Just increase knowledge of the self. All of this will go away. Don't worry about these things. You worry about that. Therefore, keep your eyes on your goal. Don't move your eyes from there. If you keep your eyes on your goal and then you meet Kangana Ranaut, you meet Marlene Dietrich, you meet whoever, that lovely girl in college, they will come to you. You did not run after them. Because your eyes on your goals, right? See, these businessmen, they meet Amitabh or something because they want to use him in their ad or something like that. So they say, okay, when they go to meet him, they are not carried away. They are using him because they know somebody else, their target audience is carried away. So they just meet them. They say, oh, great, lovely to meet you. we'd like to use you for advertisement. This is how much we'll be paying. And there's very normal stuff going on. They don't go crazy and berserk. Why don't they go crazy and berserk? Because their interest is not in that star, but in the money that star is going to make for them by coming in their ad. They are not carried away with star or no star. But all the staff over there are very carried. Today Amitabh came to our office because they don't have any clear purpose over here. They are like, oh, Amitabh has come. He came to be boss. So when our eye is on the goal, we simply don't get enamored by things. So moral of the story is keep your eye on the goal. Since you are in a Vedanta class, what is our goal over here? Eventual goal.
Self-realization.
Self-realization, total knowledge of the self. Keep your eye there. It is your ultimate solution to all problems. So does that mean that you should not solve your immediate problems? No, please solve your immediate problems, whatever they may be. Maybe you are lacking financial resources, maybe you're lacking, health or whatever in the world. Please solve the problem. But it is not the solution. Remember that. The solution is only knowledge of self. That famous story, right? There's a famous story. I think it's where is it from? I think it's from Britain. I can't remember where it is from. So there's a beautiful story that there was a horse, and he was being bullied by the stag. The stag, the big antlers, and the stag was poking the horse. So he was being bullied by that stag. So the horse didn't know what to do. How is he supposed to fight an antlers? He doesn't have them. So he went running to man and said to man, oh man, please come and help me fight the stag because he's poking me with his antlers and troubling me. So man said, I don't know. I don't have antlers either. How am I supposed to help you? He said, no, you don't worry. I know you'll be able to sort it out. So you come. You have a brain. You come. So man said, okay, fine. Take me on your back. So the man got onto the back of the horse and they went to the stag. And the story goes that man, because he is so bright and smart, he was able to defeat the stag with his antlers, and the horse had solved the problem of the stag bothering him. But the story goes that after that, man never got off the back of the horse. What has that horse done? Solve one problem, only to get to another one. And that is how we do things in this world. We solve one problem, and before we know it, we are in the midst of another one. All the time, our solutions for one problem always create problem number 2. This is true at a macro level, not just individuals, you and I. Okay, poor people, there are lots of poor people and they're suffering because they have no money. So what do? Let's bring development to them. Okay, very good. Let's bring development to that area. Then they will do very well. Yes? And then you take development, you build infrastructure, you build this, you build that, and they all do very well. But then eventually, neither they nor we have any air to breathe because you polluted the whole planet now. So the way of solving any problem that we come up with, our bright minds come up with, is always to create one more problem, another problem. People have no food. Let us do better fishing. Let's have better fishing methods so that we can give good fish to all the people. And let's have these giant trawlers going into the sea. And we'll get good profits. People will get fish. It's fantastic. What is the end result? You emptied out the ocean of all the fish and created a bigger disaster, like a huge disaster out of it. It's so stupid. We do it at the macro level. We do it at the individual level. What's the individual level? Now, I don't know if Deepraj is married or not. I don't think he is. Not married, no, Deepraj, no. Okay. So now, poor fellow, he lives alone in a bachelor's pad. And he comes home to an empty house. And then he thinks, oh my God, I have nobody to go to the movies with me. And all my friends are getting married. I am so lonely. So many problems. And he comes up with a solution. What is the solution? All these problems, I get no food to eat, nice, good home food I don't have anyone to go to the movies with me. Oh, all so many problems. Now I want a solution. So he's thinking, what solution? And he comes up with a solution. What do you think his solution will be?
Bigger problem.
What is his solution is what? Tell us that.
Getting married.
Get married. Then he will find out whether it was actually a solution of his problem or not. This is what we do all our life. We do that. Every problem we will solve by creating one more.
Janki, you will scare off the first timers.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Poor Omkar, he does so much to try and get new people. Sorry, Omkar, what to do now? If they are able to survive this, then maybe they'll survive longer. This is our filtration process going on. If you can't take these basic facts, you ain't taking any more basic facts. Many, many facts in this world, and you're here to study them. But please don't go away, because otherwise, we are left jobless. Nobody comes to class, then we have no job. Then we can just go to the Bahamas, right? And relax and enjoy life. So, if you want to solve the problem from the root, what do we do?
Knowledge of the self.
Knowledge of the self.
Self-inquiry.
Knowledge of the self. Get that. Find that. And you will have solved it forever. Otherwise, you go on solving every problem one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. And every time you solve a problem, you say, "Re baapre, what happened now? Another problem has come." And, we've been married for 5 years, but no good news, no good news, no good news. That is, when your good news comes, you'll find out whether it's good news or bad news. You have no idea what is coming forward, and yet longing for it, longing for it, longing. And then you say, oh, this, that. Solve the problem. Let the wisdom grow. Make that the purpose. Make sure that on a daily basis, you are doing something for that to grow. No point coming every Saturday and saying, oh, that's correct, wisdom should grow. That's not helping you or anyone. On a daily basis, are you doing something to make the wisdom grow? On a daily basis. That is why, it's so tough, because we live a normal life and things constantly are happening. It's not always easy for us to do that on a daily basis. That's why we came up with the idea of doing the 1 month course. And when we tell everybody it's a 1 month residential course, and they get frightened. Oh my God, how can I leave everything for 1 month? Okay, don't leave then. Continue the way you are. We can only think of ideas to help, but if you can't implement them, then what can anyone do? But at least if you do it for 1 month, then maybe, maybe you'll break that cycle and get into the habit of doing on a daily basis things that are needed. Who knows? And these are just tools. Only if we use them well, will we make something of it. Otherwise, we spend our whole life saying how bad everything is. Oh, these people, they're all corrupt, they're all horrible, they're all this, they're all that. Only shows my lack of knowledge. So,
Hariom Janki-ji, can I ask a question?
Yeah, Ganesh?
Yes. So I think even a person who's well advanced into his spiritual study, but he has one weakness, like maybe gambling, his mind gets so involved, and he just cannot have an intellect control over it. So that can cause failure, right?
Yeah. It doesn't matter how many doors of your house, how many doors and windows of your house you lock when you go on your holiday. What matters is which one small window which you left open.
Yeah, isn't that so cruel?
Well, they do call things the bitter truth.
Okay. So I think that Vishwamitra, and I know that's this thing, because is that it's, I know it's, we do not know the story, but that's a perfect analogy, right?
Yeah,
Of-
you cannot afford to be negligent in any aspect
Mhm.
because that will get up and strike you like a snake.
Mm.
You
So
can't
even that
afford.
10% can really mess everything up.
Of course.
And only wisdom, self-study, and
Yeah,
over
I
a
mean,
period of
wisdom
time.
means you have to do the whole thing. Karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, hatha yoga. Do the whole thing. Don't say, I want wisdom, I want wisdom.
Mm.
Kaam pe lago. Kaam
Understood.
pe
Understood.
lago means, Madeline means get down to work. Take up one thing, but make it your daily routine. Once that is fixed, then add one more thing. Even a simple thing like go for a walk half an hour a day. Even that is difficult. Everything is difficult. It's also difficult. Okay, then meet the problems and find out. Everything difficult. I don't understand. This is the difference between a credit card payment and cash payment. Credit card payment, you get the enjoyment first and you get the payment and you have to pay later. The trouble is later. In cash payment, it hurts you to give out the cash, but you've paid it before you enjoyed it. So why don't we understand that if you want to enjoy life properly, keep to cash. Keep to cash means you pay first and then you enjoy. If you try to enjoy first and then pay, it's very painful because the payment is a lot more. Nobody gets it. When you delay your payment is always more. If you buy a flat, you pay money and you buy a flat, it costs you X. But if you take a loan and buy the same flat, it will cost you X plus Y. And the same thing happens mentally. If you pay first and then you enjoy, your payment is less. But if you enjoy first and then you want to make the payment, your payment is more. Then you crib and you say, oh, it's hurting. Obviously, it'll hurt. What do you think? Pay first. You learn first. Apply yourself first. Develop the intellect first. Then go out and enjoy the world. Don't do it the other way around because that's painful. So daily, give yourself discipline. If you don't give yourself discipline, you have no idea whether your intellect is working or not. People run down discipline. What is there in discipline? What do you mean, what is there in discipline? If your intellect works, you should be a disciplined person. By discipline, I don't just mean on, at 7 o'clock you do this and 8 o'clock you do this. It's everything. When did you file your taxes? When did you pay your credit card bills? When did you go for your jog in the morning? Whatever. I mean, the whole lot of it. How is your cupboard kept? Have you thought about how you're dealing with the various people in your life? I mean, the whole lot. It's not just like one thing. So it's better if you train yourself now and then enjoy life. Or then suffer and then train yourself. But that's more painful.
Ma'am, Hariom, one question. How do we know our intellect is developed and we can enjoy life?
Ganesh, don't worry about enjoying life. You worry about developing the intellect.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You just keep on developing. If you're not realized, you study in the morning. Don't worry about. And then, you yourself will have the freedom
Got it,
to
got it.
contact things.
Understood.
Okay, so I hope that is clear.